Hi, I'm Bruce Gilley, a professor of political science at Portland State University and a member of the board of the National Association of Scholars. I'm a lifelong reader of The Economist. I can still remember looking at the funny cartoon covers in the 1970s of the copies on my father's bedside table, back when The Economist was still printed on what felt like tissue paper. But like much of the West's intellectual elite, The Economist has drifted left in recent decades. And there's no better example of that than the latest Lexington column on American politics, published on September 12th. The magazine's columnist is in Youngstown, Ohio, talking to workers who voted for Trump in 2016 and trying to fathom how they could possibly still be planning to vote for Trump this fall. The problem, the columnist says, is that the workers are unable to correctly assess reality and therefore are responding through values, chauvinism, and, yes, racism. So what are those alleged errors of the knuckle-dragging, unevolved workers of Youngstown, Ohio? Well, there's three main ones. Alleged error number one. President Trump, the workers believe, is tackling the public debt. Aha, says the Lex columnist. Not so. The public debt has skyrocketed under Trump. Well, this is a complex issue, Mr. Lex, and as a political scientist, I feel I have something to say about the alleged mistakes of the workers. President Trump's tax cuts and his elimination of tax exemptions were intended to force Congress to deal seriously with public spending. And there's a lot of research in economics and political science that suggests spending only gets cut when there's a problem on the tax revenue side. That's the dynamics of budgets. So Trump was right to cut taxes as a way to deal with public debt. And the fact that COVID came along hardly invalidates his claim to take public debt seriously, especially when we compare his spending plans with those of the much more extensive spending plans of the Democrats. Alleged error number two. The workers think that Trump has dealt with health care. Aha, the Economist snoots. Incorrect. He rolled back Obamacare coverage. But that's exactly what the workers mean, Mr. Lex. When one worker says he has got health care done, what the workers mean is that Trump has removed some of the most egregious provisions of Obamacare. Now, you may disagree with those policies, but the workers are hardly mistaking reality. Trump promised to roll back Obamacare, and he did. The workers correctly see that. Alleged error number three. The workers think that President Trump has built the border wall. No, insists the Lex columnist, quote, he has a lot of wall left to build, unquote. Well, do I really need to explain this? President Trump made a commitment to strengthen our border defenses on the southern border. He has followed through on that. He has begun to build the wall. Progress has been slow because of lawsuits, regulations, and budget battles. But again, one can hardly claim that the workers are out of touch with reality. President Trump, the columnist proclaims, has, quote, unlike any predecessor, never stopped campaigning, unquote. Well, allow me to introduce some of my political science knowledge here, and I'm not even a specialist in American politics, but the permanent campaign idea was an idea of President Carter's advisors, and it was the name of a book published in 1980. Where have you been, Mr. Lexington? Finally, the unevolved workers of Youngstown, Ohio worry about President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. One of them notes that would-be Vice President Harris is black. Well, finally, we knew it was there. Racism. But wait a sec. Ms. Harris does identify as black, even though she is, for the most part, a Tamil Brahmin of South Asian origin. And the Democratic Party has explicitly endorsed the anti-capitalist, anti-equality, and anti-police platform of the Black Lives Matter movement. Doesn't this mean that it's a relevant policy concern for the worker to note that she is black? Yes, the workers are perhaps not eloquent or careful in their language. They are too busy building the offices in which the Lex columnists will sit, sneering at them for their unevolved, uninformed opinions. But as a political scientist, I would say the workers have a more logical, fact-based, and coherent grasp of reality than the columnist does. I'm Bruce Gilley.